I think it's indeed a pleasure for us and an honor to welcome our chief guest today, Lieutenant General C.P. Mohanty ji. Uh, this would be, I think, the fifth eminent guest to deliver this lecture. Others in that, eminent list includes people like Narayan Murthy ji, who had come and blessed us. Then there were Kapil Sibal ji, not in his capacity as a politician, but more so in his capacity as a legal expert and a legal, illuminary. Uh, I would, sir, welcome you on behalf of the management, the faculty, and the students. Unfortunately, the students have not been able to, use this occasion to benefit from your lecture. Otherwise, I think the insights that would have been shared by you on leadership would have really inspired, and we look forward to, somebody in the armed forces as senior as you, to give out those leadership tips and those management skills that are required. Because whatever we learned, in management school, myself a management graduate. I know what we learn is something more, would say a textbook answer to what you people maybe live it day in, day out. And the courage and the valor that, is exhibited by our armed forces is something which cannot be matched. So I thank you profusely for accepting our, invitation and sparing time on a Sunday, that too on a Sunday. A lot many dignitaries sitting in front are from armed forces. Some of us have, people, faculty members who are present here from the Vivekananda Institute. I thank Siddharth sir because had he not been there, I think the entire conceptualization and this event would not have been possible. And I think credit goes to him largely. Then supported by Dean and the faculty who have organized this. We have two more people which I would like to mention here because Professor Venkatrao sir, who has been with National Law University, Bangalore as the Vice Chancellor, he is the leading light and a legal, leading light of this country and I would say a jewel crest for this country when it comes to legal expertise. And I think he's too humble and I requested him to be on the dais with sir, but then he declined to that. Coming to, the journey that we have been through, and there were small, axiomatic, phrases which my father used to tell me when I used to ask him as to why, what motivated you to, build an institution in the name of Swamiji. Because my suggestions were, we'll call it Institute of Professional Studies. He said, no, it has to be Vivekananda. Otherwise, I'm not going to start anything. Because his, the initiation into the order and his going to Mayavati, I don't know how many of you have visited Mayavati Ashram, which is an Advaita ashram which was set up because when Swamiji returned from his, after delivering his lecture in 1893, 1899 was the time when he wanted to set up with that burning desire in him that he wanted 10, 10 to 12, individuals who had the nerves of steel, muscles of iron, and in which dwelled the mind which was made up of thunderbolt. And he said that give me, those 12, people with that strength of character, and I will be able to change this country into what people would, possibly want this to be. And that what possibly inspired my father. I think it was a divine, ordained, sir, that either deliberately, maybe Swamiji took him there, Jitatmananji Maharaj, who himself was a MA Physics from Presidency College. He took him there. They, spent a couple of days into deep meditation and contemplation, wanting to understand what should be the institution character all about. And 21 years of our journey has been all about, churning out not just, students, but then people. Our motto is man-making, character building, nation building, which largely, focuses its energies on, having something which is to do with, the nation and the spirit of nationalism that we say. We have beautiful lessons from armed forces to learn. They say Namak, Naam, Namak, and Nishan, which is the honor code for the armed forces. And they kind of, either live and die with it. And that's what we need to understand. Fine, we as civilians, we understand, there is a certain, but then there's no sense of discipline, no sense of responsibility, which is visible at times. And largely when we see, places around us, especially corporates, there's a lot of, lack of leadership in terms of the vision that they need to create. I was, browsing through, having done a lot of, research on the topic as I have to speak today. I was trying to justify my existence here on the stage and trying to prove that no, there are, very good insights offered by Swami Vivekananda ji when it comes to leadership. So few of his thoughts that I would like to share with everybody here and how it got reflected, because Jack Welch, which was, CEO of GE, he said a leader should have the ability to have a vision, communicate that vision to its people, and at the same time have, the capability to deliver that vision. And this is what happened, in fact, when 2000 was the time, and 97 was the time, in fact, to be very honest, where my father founded this education society. It was called Strength India Society. And the Strength abbreviated stands for, Society for Total Revival of National Glory and the True Heritage of India. So there was a purpose behind, his doing things in the way that he went about doing things. And I don't want to self-tempt here about, what WIPS is all about or what my father stood for. But today is his 75th birthday also. So this occasion kind of, befits the kind of, the homage that I can pay to him, my reverence to him. And no other than Sir has kind of, his consent is like a, God's blessing to us, I would say. Swamiji went on and talked a lot about, he was a Karam Yogi, and so I see all people in armed forces to be Karam Yogis, because there's a lot of detachment which comes, through the forces that we work through. There's people move from one position to another. They care little about their own lives, which is kind of, amazing to see when it comes to, because there is a fear. And when I was listening to one of the lectures of Sir Manik Shaw, he said there was, after the war with Bangladesh, I had, somebody as my help who was Swan Singh, he said, and Swan Singh, I kind of denied his, promotion. And when I came back, somebody told me that he's going to kill you today. And he goes on to quote that example that I was quite fearful, because he was a 6.5 feet guy. And I was kind of mortified that today he's going to kill me. But then he says that I mustered that courage, called him into my own tent and told him, Ki, Swan Singh, you want to kill me? Here is the gun. Shoot me right away. And he said his hands were shaking. He said that was the moral courage that I had, though it was stupidity at that point of time. He admitted to it very candidly. But he said, no, but then there and then, if I did not exhibit that kind of courage, my entire, Paltan would have said, Saab ghabra gaye. And this is where, those are things where you look for, courage in certain examples around you. As I said, Swamiji was a Karam Yogi. He never attached himself to any position. And the order that he formed, which unfortunately became a cult of some sort, but still exhibits, interesting leadership insights as to what needs to be done. So he had this formula of rotation of, authority, where no single person would get the power, as he would possibly say that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So he had that provision within the, mutt that he founded. It's an interesting lesson. Why? Because he said we have to move people from being, dependent to independent to interdependent. And that's his philosophy of, leadership that he kind of propounded, that we need to have leadership which cares for others, is more socially oriented, and not focused on selfish gains. And I think our armed forces, all three divisions of the armed forces exhibit that kind of leadership in its, may it be at the lower level or at the top level. So interesting, coincidences and kind of, things that emerge. We at WIPS also, kind of got into that mode where, we thought of the administrative structure to be something which is more supportive of people, of their capabilities, and yet, have some amount of detachment inbuilt into it. Why? Because as Swamiji has said that, we can't fulfill anything till the time you are filled with greed. So that part has to be done away with completely. So man making, character building, and yes, there was one important aspect to his leadership style, that was servant leadership. He said that we should be servants, serving, people rather than have our own vested interest at its prime, thing. And the same thing which I found accidentally when I was researching on that topic further, Robert Greenleaf, he was a well-known, management expert, had, given out this idea in the year 1970 itself. So you look at the correlation of great thinkers and the great minds, how they kind of, think on the same lines and, offer you a leadership solution. And the problems that we see today, what we saw possibly in Afghanistan, the way, US left people in lurch, and those assets may be used or misused in times to come. I think people from the armed forces know it better as to what would be strategic, or is it a catastrophe wanting to happen in that particular area or region. I'll take few more minutes because, again, one more management expert, Larry C. Spears, proposed, 10 characteristics of a leader, servant leadership. He said, listening, empathy, healing, one's own self. It's not about one's own self in terms of its selfishness, but about, getting the best out of yourself. Because as Swamiji said, each soul is potentially divine. So it meant that one needs to, explore deeper into answers for life, difficult problems and solutions. So you have to kind of, work on yourself all day along rather than look for outside. Persuasion, conceptualization, foresightedness, stewardness, commitment, and above all, the growth of everyone around themselves. So it has that beautiful, conception of where I grow and everybody else grows with me. So those are very important lessons, when it comes to Swamiji. 4 paths he possibly, preached: Gyan Yoga, Dharam Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Karam Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and your Raj Yoga. If we deeply analyze and when we put it into practice in Vivekananda Institute, it possibly means, something telling students to think more logically, have that sense of discrimination in them inbuilt, so that they do not get carried away by emotions, purely emotions. Psychic control was his main, if you can control your psyche, because somewhere, he has quoted, Jaisa Raja Tatha Praja, Tatha Praja Tatha Raja, meaning as the leader is, so would be its followers. Meaning that one has to exemplify first, his own behavior has to be, vouched for before he starts, giving out sermons to others. And that's a very important thing. Devotion for emotional health. He doesn't mean devotion in terms of devotion to God, as we normally assume that to be. Devotion, he meant that it has to be emotional health also, because you have to be emotionally balanced. So emotional quotient come into play, and we have to understand what emotional quotient is all about. Daniel Goleman has written a lot about it, and people who understand that part know how important, EQ has become. It has become, it has taken precedence over IQ. Because in a war-like situation, I can understand if you're not with your, the soldier buddy who's there, you need that courage and an emotional, balancing within yourself to take somebody out of that danger zone. So I think those are very important lessons to be learned. Karam Yoga, again, as I said, selfless work, and Ramakrishna order has this, very beautiful, motto which says, Atmano mokshartham jagat hitaicha. So work for self-salvation, self-liberation, not in terms of what we assume in a spiritual sense of it, but again, it's unfolding of your own character, your own personality, refining your own self or your own persona, and then working for the world at large. With those words, I think, sir, I once again express my deep sense of gratitude to you for having accepted this invitation, and we look forward to your words of wisdom, sir. Thank you so much.